Question number 12, Julianne Genter. Point of order, the Right Honourable Winston
on the question of an alleged donation, I seek to table the document that sets out the two donations the National Party got in 2011 and
Order. The member will resume his seat
$86,000
immediately. That information is publicly available to any member who wants it. Question number 12, Julianne Genter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Transport and asks, what percentage of the National Land Transport Programme announced yesterday will be spent on new rail infrastructure?
And before I call the Honourable Simon Bridges, I've been advised this answer may be longer than normal. The Honourable Simon Bridges.
Mr. Speaker, in answering this question, it's very important to understand some context. The government historically directly funds rail infrastructure, and that's certainly been the case under this government. Investment in rail infrastructure typically doesn't come from the National Land Transport Plan. Of course, the NLTP is funded by road users through petrol excise and RUC. So investment primarily goes on matters directly related to road users. In rail, of course, the government has directly funded over $3 billion on capital expenditure, including the biggest single investment in rail in decades in the form of Auckland Rail electrification.
Point of order.
In the 2015.
Order. I have a point of order from Julianne Genter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respect and I acknowledge that you advised that the answer would be longer than usual.
So what is the point of order?
What the Minister isn't addressing the question. He's talking about rail investment.
Order. I'd be grateful if the member would show some courtesy to the Minister and to the House. I announced at the start it would be a longer answer than normal. As I'm listening to the answer, it is a reason why maybe a percentage won't be given. If the member would only listen to the answers before raising questions, points of order, I think we'd all be far more grateful. Would the Honourable Minister wish to continue with his answer?
Mr. Speaker, in regards to the 2015-18 National Land Transport Plan, we're investing over $2 billion in public transport. Regarding rail, some $380 million going on passenger rail subsidies, $40 million park and ride infrastructure, and $172.6 million towards other rail infrastructure, about 1.5%. Of course, in budget 2015, there's a further $210 million for Kiwi Rail, another $190 million signal for the year after. The member should stop being tricky, should stop cherry-picking the statistics.
Order. Now the answer is quite long enough.
Sir.
I'll take point of order from Maturia Turo.
This is a question that is on notice. It is a very straight question. The Minister has not
so what is the point of order?
He has not answered the question
No,
of a
the
very
member,
clear on notice.
The member has not been listening like I've been listening. In my opinion, that question has without doubt been addressed. It may not be the satisfaction of the member, then she makes progress by further supplementary. Further point of order from Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Tilly, and I want to ask you, what then was it that we missed about the percentage?
Order. I'll hear from the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Well, I think, Mr. Speaker, quite clearly what the member missed is that the National Land Transport Plan doesn't necessarily carry the funding for rail because it all comes from the excise.
Well, I appreciate...
So what is the problem?
The member
it's a dopey question.
The member will resume his seat. What the member now needs to do is go back and study Hansard, and he'll get the same answer that I heard to. Further supplementaries, Julianne Genter. Supplementary question, Julianne Genter.
Given that rail is a form of land transport and rail improvements can vastly improve the road network, take pressure off the road network, why won't his government fund high-value rail projects from the land transport budget?
The Honourable Simon Bridges.
Mr. Speaker, I think we've got a very proud record of backing rail. That's why we've spent over $3 billion on capital expenditure. That's why we've put the biggest single investment in rail infrastructure in many decades in the $1.6 billion electrification of rail in Auckland. That's why we've spent over $500 million investing in Wellington Rail. We back rail and we're trying to make it as sustainable as possible so it has a very long future in this country.
Supplementary?
Supplementary question, Julianne Genter.
In light of that answer, will he guarantee that under his government, electric trains won't be downgraded to diesel trains on the North Island Main Trunk Line?
The Honourable Simon
Mr.
Bridges.
Speaker, of course, that's an operational matter for KiwiRail, and no decision's been made on that. But this government's busy not engaging in stunts like that member, but actually working hard to make KiwiRail sustainable in every sense of that word. Yes, environmentally, but also economically and socially.
Supplementary?
Supplementary question, Julianne Genter.
So is he seriously saying that as Minister for Transport and Associate Climate Change, he is going to do nothing to ensure that New Zealand preserves and extends its fleet of electric freight trains?
The Honourable Simon Bridges.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've already answered that, but let's be very clear. Actually, even in regard to diesel trains, they are some 70% more fuel efficient than trucks. And so actually, I think we've got to make sure we make rail as a business sustainable in every sense of the word, so it does have a long future here. That also means, and I appreciate this is not something the Green Party takes seriously, but that also means making it economically sustainable so that it's a profitable, sustainable company.
Point of order.
Point of order, Julianne Genter.
I seek leave to table analysis of the NLTP announced yesterday done by the Parliamentary Library, which shows less than 2% on public transport. The vast
Order. No. Such information does not provide, such tabling doesn't provide information that's being used by the members simply to make a political point. That concludes questions for oral. Point of order, the Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Just in regard to question 2 put by my colleague Kelvin Davis to the Minister, the Honourable Nick Smith replied, and I say that
can
the
I just
Minister
have the point of order,
House,
please?
Mr. Speaker.
Order. Then again,
Mr. Speaker.
That's a serious allegation to be made.
It is. I'm
then the member,
here, Mr. Speaker.
the member's been here. The member will resume his seat. The member knows full well the process if he thinks that has occurred, and it's not via point of order. I think it is from memory. Standing Order 359. Order. Point of order, Dr. Russell-Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to...
Order. The member will stand and withdraw and apologise for that comment. The Honourable Damien O'Connor. Then the member will immediately leave the chamber. Point of order, Dr. Russell-Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is to do with the answer given by the Minister to question 12. I would ask you to look at the record of the Hansard, because the question on notice written down was a very simple, straight question, and in the answer the Minister attacked the member asking the question, accusing her of being tricky and various other things. I think that is completely unreasonable, and I would ask you to intervene when a Minister does those kinds of personal attacks on a very straight question and actually hold the Minister to account for it.
Order. Order, that is a very fair point of order that's been raised. The Minister's office advised my office just prior to question time it would be a longer answer than normal, as the Minister, I think, genuinely attempted to answer the question. His last comment was to accuse the member of being tricky. That was a very unnecessary and, in fact, inflammatory remark. As soon as it occurred, I brought that answer to a conclusion. But answers like that from any minister show a level of arrogance that does not show them in good light in this House. That concludes questions for oral answer. Would some honourable member care to move that the House take note of miscellaneous business?
Mr. Speaker.
Chris Hipkins.
Mr. Speaker, I so move. Mr. Speaker, it says